You didn't lose, did you?
No, I didn't. Anytime Gabe and Kate are out there, I need them to win. It doesn't matter if it's 3-0, like I need it. We're right around the corner for the playoffs. Things need to start coming together. Every match is huge for confidence. Also funny, we were late to the coin toss. We lost all aspects of the coin toss in that match.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome everybody back to the channel. We have a very, very special edition of the show today. We're going to be joined by none other than Anna Bright. That's right, she's back. She's going to be breaking down the Match of the Year PPA Women's Doubles Final from 2 weeks ago. We'll also be talking MLP Las Vegas. We'll be doing an MLP Miami preview, and she's going to get us ready for the playoffs. Additionally, I have achieved my final form as a pickleball nerd. I created a model and ran 5,000 simulations to predict the final standings for Major League Pickleball. But first, I'd really appreciate if you would consider liking this video, and if you haven't, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. A few more videos and I'll finally be able to afford to take Basil the dog to the groomer. He smells terrible right now, so if you want to support the channel, support what I'm doing, and support Basil the dog, please like, subscribe, and share this video. Last, if you've got any pickleball needs in your life, well, go ahead and check out pickleballcentral.com. In fact, you can use this nifty code. We'll put that up right here. Matty P1024 should get you, I don't know what it gets you, but it'll get you a discount, I think. Apply that at checkout. Let me know what happens. I've actually never tried it. I think it works. Let's do this thing. All teams except for DC in New York will be participating in this event. The 6th place team is currently on pace for right around 38 points. The 7th place team is not even on pace for 30, so a little bit of work to do if you're not in the picture and you want to get in. It's now or never. Now, coming into this event, I was feeling very, very confident in the Texas Ranchers, not only to make the playoffs, but to challenge for one of those top 2 seeds. However, it was announced that Christian Alshon will be out from MLP Vegas due to an injury, presumably has to do with him hitting his head with his own paddle at the PPA right before this. Anderson Scarpa would be subbing in. He's a good player, but you build your team around Alshon. You kind of want Alshon there. Let's get into the games. We'll start things off with Ranchers versus LA Mad Drops. We've got women's doubles. Etta and Tina able to get a win against Jade Kawamoto and Catherine Parento, get off to a 1-0 lead before we would get our first look at Anderson Scarpa and Quang Duong. Scarpa and Duong struggled at times for Texas to arrive to the kitchen. Here they are defending a match point at the kitchen in a dink rally. We're going to see Scarpa leave one just a little bit high, and AJ Kohler, another sub by the way, is going to make them pay. Moving on to mixed doubles, again we have Scarpa, this time with Etta Wright, and look how far Hunter Johnson's coming towards the middle. That leaves a nice target for Anderson Scarpa, who then slides in, puts the ball away. A few rallies later, again, going to get a high ball, able to keep them back, and he's going to punish with some pretty good put-away power. You know, he looked pretty serviceable early here for the Ranchers. Here's a nice drop. We're going to get into another little dink rally here. Again, got my little circles. I love these little circles. I find them very satisfying. I think it kind of helps you see where we're targeting. And Catherine Parento is going to try the same speed up at the same spot, and Scarpa's there again with a little bit of an assist off the net, able to get one just behind Hunter Johnson. They would go up 2-1 with Quang and Tina on deck trying to close out. And right here, what we're going to see is probably my favorite shot in pickleball right now. Going to get some dinking. We're going to see it's kind of just, you know, your standard dink rally, but this two-hand backhand roll from Quang, it just breaks things wide open. Everything gets so dynamic after that. We get a shot into the net there, but it's just so much fun to watch. I don't know, I just find it really satisfying. Here we get some classic Quang Duong third shot drive, forcing an error off AJ Kohler, who had a little bit of a love affair going with the net here in this game. LA was never able to get back in control of this one, and Texas got much needed 3 points. Moving along, Arizona Drive. They were a little bit of an afterthought as far as playoff picture coming into this event. 12 points in 13 matches, but they did make a trade. They sent Caitlin Christian off for Jessie Irvin, and that seems to have been a pretty good move. Lacey and Caitlin were only 3-10 as a women's doubles team on the year, so bringing Jessie Irvin in really shored up the right side of this lineup. They were able to get a win over the Dallas Flash women. Moving on, it was 1-1 heading into the first mix. Andre and Lacey getting into a little bit of a battle here with J-Dub and Georgia Johnson. And in many sports, catching the ball would be a great play, but in pickleball, not so good. Here on game point for AZ drive with some really, really aggressive shadows coming from the bench area. We're going to see Andre, the big Romanian, just reach in there, find the winner down the middle, take a 2-1 lead heading into mixed number 2 for Arizona, who desperately needs to make anything happen. AZ drive up 20-18 in this one. Our first look at the new mixed team, Jesse and Dylan. Definitely a 1A, 1B situation for this team. And check this out, just a little misdirection there. Tyra is expecting it on the forehand. Jesse goes down the line, able to get her tied up a little bit there. Here again, Jesse speeding up, just going to barely clip Augie. And at 24-20 match point, we get some classic scrambling, defending, one more ball pickleball. These are my favorite types of rallies when I'm playing rec games. Just keeping this thing alive, scrambling, doing whatever it takes, keeping in play. And the other team starts pressing a little bit. You know, they're just trying to find that put away. They end up pushing it deep, and that is ball game. AZ drive, 3 points to start the day against a very good Dallas Flash team. We now move on to one of the few dream breakers we saw all week. Just was not a whole lot of really tight matches. Even this one, the games themselves weren't close. We get a little view from bench cam here too, by the way. I'm not a huge fan of bench cam. Here we get an Anna Bright versus Caitlin Christian. Nice little rally. Caitlin just controlling it, working Anna side to side. Anna never able to close in. Caitlin again, just having Anna on skates, running all over the place. But the shock would get it done. Ben Johns into the net. And the window is closing for Carolina. We'll take a look at that in just a second. Texas trying to stay hot, trying to keep the mojo going with Sub Scarpa. They trailed 24-18 in this one against the New Jersey men, but they were able to pull together a nifty little comeback here. Zane Navratil dinks it into the net. It may not surprise you to see that Annalie Waters had already won the women's match earlier, as Kwang Tuong there engaging in a firefight, going solo against the New Jersey men. All the way back, tied up at 24-24. Scarpa, little love off the net, right into the stomach of Will Howes, but a few rallies later, yeah, the net giveth, the net taketh. At 25-25, we get the Will Howes Ernie and the Revernie. That's the reverse Ernie. I think I just coined that. I don't know. Has anybody said that before? If not, I'm taking credit for it. At 27-27, we've established that the net giveth, the net taketh, but also the net replayeth. There we have the ball hitting the crossbar, so we get a replay. And on the ensuing replay, again, I just absolutely love this shot. Look at how wide he pushes Will out, and then he can't quite get the ATP. I just love it. I've added this shot into my game too. Check it out. Back to the match at hand. At 28-27, it is a counter backhand winner for Scarpa. We go into mixed tied at 1-1. We pick this one up late with Zane and Mari against Kwang and Tina, with some clutch moments coming in from Zane there and Ernie to get the game point. And then on game point with a very interesting camera angle from the PPA here. I guess I wanted to see the bench on the side, but Zane just sticks the paddle out and finds the winner somehow. Gets a 2-1 lead where you would assume Annalie Waters will have no trouble closing it out, but to the credit of Anderson Scarpa and Etta Wright, they at least made her earn it. And here on 24-23, the New Jersey Fives are going to get the regulation win after a little bit of a firefight. Will Howes finds the put away. So let's take a quick look at the rest of the day one results. St. Louis got a 4-0 sweep over the Utah Black Diamonds, who have a completely new look. They brought in Jeannie Bouchard. We're going to get Anna Bright's opinion on Jeannie Bouchard later in the video. Dallas got a regulation win over the Columbus Sliders. Orlando also got a 4-0 sweep over Utah, and Orlando got a 4-0 sweep over the Columbus Sliders. We've got some signs of life from Orlando and from Arizona. Carolina not quite keeping up pace. They're going to need to pick it up. Let's move on to day two.
Welcome to day two. We've got the Arizona Drive men up against Ben and Colin. The AZ Drive women already got off to a 1-0 lead, so we got into a very measured match here, very reminiscent of that PPA final just last week. Of course, subbing in Andre for J-Dub. Here, Colin John is going to pull the trigger from pretty low, pay the price for it. Andre and Dylan have had their struggles this year, but they were able to put together a pretty good week so far. Dylan, nice and aggressive from the right side. And here at 13-8, AZ Drive working on extending the lead. I feel like we see this more often than we should, with the ball just going right between the bros and nobody putting a paddle on it. Of course, the body language not great afterwards. Another interesting insight revealed by these little dink circles is how much the action is going towards the top of the screen. We have Dylan playing so far towards the middle from the right. We have Ben playing so far towards the middle from the left. We are basically playing skinny doubles, and Andre is going to try that same shot down the middle, but this time there is a paddle there and the bros get that point. They made it close, but on the next rally, on game point, Ben Johns dinks it wide. 2-0 lead for AZ Drive. Looking to close it out, Andre and Lacey. Lacey just played so well this week. The trade helped this team. They were really cooking, and they're starting to really apply pressure. They got the regulation win there. Here we go to New Jersey versus Orlando Squeeze. No surprise, it starts off with an Annalee Waters women's doubles win. And also, no surprise, we would get a Orlando Squeeze men's doubles win. Here, we're going to get a little body bag action from Federico Staxford at Will House. Maybe not quite a body bag, but still, nice shot. In fact, the Orlando Squeeze wouldn't just run away with men's doubles game, they would also run away with the first mixed doubles game. A tough outing for Zay Navratil, but hey, they're used to this. Annalee Waters surely will come in and secure it up. We'll get to a dream breaker where the fives will cook. But after some sloppy play down the stretch, a dink into the net from Annalee Waters, a dink wide from Will, a nice dodge here from Vivian David. It would actually be the Orlando Squeeze who would take the second mixed game and get a regulation win over the New Jersey Fives, ending their winning streak and continuing to apply standings pressure.
So let's take a look at the other results from day 2. St. Louis got a sweep over the Texas Rangers. LA got a sweep over the Utah Black Diamonds. New Jersey, a regulation win over Columbus. Dallas, a sweep over the Texas Rangers. Guys, that's not good for Texas. That's only 3 points in 4 matches. They only have 1 match left on day 3. Let's see if they can get any more points.
So in their final match of the regular season, Texas Rangers would take on the already eliminated Columbus Sliders wearing their ketchup red uniforms. They just traded to acquire Paris Todd. They've got Roscoe Bellamy subbing in for the injured Jay DeVilliers. And Texas would take the men's doubles point. Once again, my favorite shot, setting up the game winner. Kwong sends Riley out wide, fills in middle, and blisters it right down the middle. Now, the previous night, Etta Wright actually had to retire mid-match. Texas had to forfeit a game. She was not ready to go the next day either, and as a result, they lost the women's doubles and the first mixed lineup with Lindsay Newman subbing in. That meant it was up to Tina and Kwong to try and force the dream breaker and just salvage a few more points to get a little extra buffer. Here we get into a nice long dinking rally. Tina taking a lot of balls out of the air, looking at that cross-court pattern, but also when she feels a little bit of pressure, not afraid to go right down the line at Riley, taking it out of the air again. They're going to try to dink down Kwong's line, maybe try to back him up a little bit, and he's going to go for his signature shot here in a second. However, this time he's going to be just off the mark, trailing 19-20. We get a big serve from Kwong. We get a third shot drive off the net. We get a fifth shot drive off the net. And continuing to look to be aggressive, he's going to go for this speed up at Paris Todd, but she is all over it. Gets the pop up. Riley Newman gets the put away. Riley Newman poaching there off Kwong in transition. And on match point, again, it is Riley Newman coming over from the left side, getting big, finding the winner down the line. Texas would finish the season at 38 points and have to sweat it out from here. Now remember, Orlando just needs 16 points in their final 8 matches. This is a golden opportunity to get a regulation win against a depleted LA team, but they got off to a very bad start and women's doubles dropped that game. The men were able to answer back to no real surprise, and it would come down to mixed doubles. Now you may recall when Texas beat LA earlier in this video, it was actually Hunter Johnson and Catherine Parento that were paired together. Here you're seeing Hunter Johnson and Jade Kawamoto. Hunter and Catherine were 0-2, so LA decided to switch it up, and that may be the difference here, not only in Orlando's season, maybe in Texas' season, because they played incredibly well. They went 3-0 together. There's Hunter Johnson coming across the middle, poaching. And on game point, Federico Staxford would dink it wide. LA gets this win, and game 4 is incomplete on the YouTube video, but LA would win in regulation. A devastating blow for Orlando, who still had a chance to salvage some points on the day up against a very tough Dallas Flash team who seems like they might be more or less locked in right around that 3 seed. Orlando would take the men's doubles game. In fact, Tyson and Federico would finish 5-0 on the week, the only men's doubles team to go undefeated. Dallas would strike back in women's doubles just like the last match, and it would come down to mixed again, where Dallas actually sent out their second lineup first, and they were able to get a win against Megan Dizon and Tyson McGuffin, which cleared the way for the Johnson siblings to close it out in regulation. The last match of the day I want to talk about, and we're only going to touch on this briefly because we'll hear more about it from Anna Bright herself in a little bit, is the St. Louis Shock versus the Dallas Flash. Both teams viewed this match as a kind of a must-win. It would be giving the winner the inside track to getting a first-round bye in the playoffs, massively important. So let's take a step back and take stock of where the standings are now.
So rounding out the results, Arizona got a 4-0 win over Utah. Columbus beat LA, which probably ends LA's season. And the Shock got a 4-0 sweep over Arizona Drive. We'll take a quick look here at the results from just this event. 14 points in 5 matches for St. Louis. Absolutely incredible for them. Arizona really stepped it up. 12 points in 5 matches for them. New Jersey kept their pace. And here we have the new updated season standings. Texas dropped all the way to 6th. The gap has gotten narrower between the 6th place and 7th place team. If you look at Arizona entering this event, only 0.92 points per match, 12 points in 13 matches. They doubled their points in one event. Here we take a quick look at the match points by game number, and you can see St. Louis is just on an absolute tear. They've won 11 straight matches. New Jersey also very strong with just one loss in their last 10. Texas, absolute disaster of an event, salvaged by this one regulation win. Here's the same look just with cumulative, and we've got it charted out. That is significantly closer than it was entering this event. That brings us to some real high-level nerd stuff. As you may have seen in the past, I have reverse engineered the duper win percent formula that they show on broadcasts on those little graphics. I can use this to generate the probabilities of the outcomes of the remaining 18 matches, whether a team's going to win in regulation, dream breaker, etc. So I plug that in, generate a random number for each match to determine what happens, and then repeat this process 5,000 times. We can then use that to determine what Duper thinks about who's going to make the playoffs and what the final standings will look like. Keep in mind too, I did fiddle with a few numbers here and there, filling in some spotty data, but I tried to keep that to a minimum. So this is what my model says. And again, this is 5,001 iterations of this. And a few things right off the bat, I think generally this model is a little bit low on New Jersey. Zane and Will don't have the strongest dupers. Additionally, it's very low on New York, again, because it just doesn't like their men. And it's incredibly high on Orlando and Arizona. This model is really bullish on their chances to make the playoffs at New York's expense. So we're going to talk about all these in a little more detail with Anna Bright later. So I'm going to put a pin in this for now. Let's go ahead and take a look at the partnership results for just this event, and then we'll roll it all into our season-long data set. The first thing that jumps out is that Federico Staxrud and Tyson McGuffin are a perfect 5-0 on this week, and Ben and Colin Johns only 1-3. Federico and Tyson have been among the very best men's doubles teams in all of MLP this year, but you've probably also got to take Gabe and Hayden into consideration. Fed and Tyson are 12-3, have a higher win percentage, but after adjusting for Duper, you can argue that Gabe and Hayden's 17-6 is actually more impressive. Ben and Colin Johns, who appear to be back, at least on the PPA tour, had a bit of a stinker this week at MLP, which again is inevitably going to draw concerns or criticism about their effort or lack thereof. In the regular season, they are 13-7. They're performing 4 wins worse than we would expect them to. The only currently active men's doubles team that is performing worse against their expectations is Andre Diascu and Dylan Frazier. On the women's doubles side, Annalie Waters and Mari Humberg were perfect. Anna Bright and Kate Fahey were perfect. In fact, Anna Bright didn't lose a match all week in either discipline. Jesse Irvin and Lacey Schneeman were a huge reason for the success of the Arizona drive this week. They went 4-1. This is particularly important for Arizona because Lacey and Caitlin Christian were just 3-10. So this trade seems to be a massive upgrade for them, and is a big reason why they're making teams like my Texas Ranchers just a little bit nervous. On the other end of the spectrum, Etta Wright and Tina Pisnick, who had been so good all year, only went 1-3, and they dropped to 14-8 on the year, and for the first time are performing below their Duper expectations. And in mixed doubles, Hunter Johnson and Jade Kawamoto went 3-0, but Hunter Johnson did go 0-2 earlier in the week when playing with Catherine Parento. Another reason Texas struggled wasn't just Anderson Scarpa. Kwong and Tina, who again had been a very good mixed team, went 1-4. Here's a look at how the Texas Ranchers have performed based on their personnel available that week. They've only played 9 matches with their roster as currently constructed fully healthy and available. And in those 9 matches, they averaged 2.4 points per match. Taking a look at the same graphic from earlier, I've added some boxes so you can see which personnel was available at these events. Orlando played 6 matches with a variety of substitutes in the Salt Lake City event. At one point, it was just Paris Todd, who by the way is not even on the team anymore, and 3 substitutes, and they managed to get a Dreambreaker win. That 6-game stretch, which is about 25% of their season, is probably the reason that they're not in the playoff mix. So that's all the super nerdy stuff I have. So now, please join me in welcoming Anna Bright to the show. Okay, everybody, welcoming back to the channel, Anna Bright. We last talked, you had just come off an upset victory in the finals over Annalie Waters and Catherine Parento. You played them twice since then. A little bit of a different story the last 2 matchups.
Yeah, we played them in Virginia Beach, I feel like Rachel and I have been bringing a pretty high level of consistency, making a lot of finals, just getting the opportunity to play them. My dad said this to me at the start of the year. He actually said that I have like the toughest time beating Annalie, like because I have to do it in a best of 5, pretty much. And I think there's validity to that because, of course, the shorter a format is, the more likely it is for an underdog or for there to be luck involved. So just getting, it's not a bad, even if I lose on Sunday and like mixed in women's doubles, it's not a bad weekend because I got there and I lost to Anna Lee. That's kind of how I think of things. So glad that in women's I've gotten there with Rachel and we've been playing well enough to get there. But yeah, in Virginia Beach, they definitely made adjustments. They went back to playing straight up, which was interesting. And they were doing a lot of things differently. They were avoiding, the kind of pattern in Atlanta that got Catherine hit a bunch, which was smart of them. And I just feel like they started strong. We didn't start poorly, but I think the start is so important just for who kind of feels like they're dictating kind of the mental edge stuff.
I remember you mentioning that when we talked about how important you said when you did the upset, you felt like you just got off to a really strong start. And as I was watching that particular match and I kind of saw the score starting to get up, I was like, that's exactly what she was talking about. The team just, once they get going, it's kind of hard to get them to get back.
Yeah. I also think Catherine played like very, very well in Virginia Beach, like close to her peak, probably. I thought she played really well, really impressive. And Annalie is always like really good, but I thought Catherine especially played at a very high level, which is, it's good to see from her and everything. It's not, if we beat them, it's not always going to be like easy or anything. So we got beat pretty handily in that match, like not a complete blowout. We've been blown out by them before, not a complete blowout, but we definitely got beat pretty handily. And then going into Vegas, it's funny, before this final, I was actually like, oh God, I don't know how this is going to go for us. I was like, ugh. But the Kawamotos had played them close the night prior, 8-8. I think the Kawamotos are one of the few teams that are capable of beating Catherine and Annalie. I'm not saying that they're like favored or anything. No one is favored right now. But like if Catherine and Ayla have an off day, the Kawas play well, like it is possible. The Kawas are just hurt by a kind of a lack of put away power. If one of them had a bigger overhead, I think that would really do wonders for them. They're losing 8-8. They were up like 9-3 in the third in February or March with like below average put away power from both of them, which is super, super impressive. They do a million things above average, but it's just a fact that, their overheads are not as strong as like most of the other top women. So I kudos to the Kawas. They played great. I think we got a really, really good warm up, and I was just feeling really calm again, even though the previous night I was kind of like, oh God, I don't know how this is going to go. They're making a big deal out of this match. I was like, it might be quick. I don't know.
Had the food poisoning set in for you yet? I saw you'd shared that.
No, I had food poisoning Wednesday night after MLP.
Okay. After all the pickleball.
No. That'd be funny if I claimed it. And then
you could have had a flu game, Michael Jordan.
I looked like such a hero. Yeah. I fought so hard, but no, I was 100% fine. I think Rach and I, we were a lot warmer going into it. We made some adjustments back, but honestly, our main adjustment was just to play better and play with more confidence and play a little freer. Like there were small things we were thinking about, but the main thing is we didn't want to be like just on our heels from the start. So, and it was really a dogfight. Disappointing that we didn't win, but I was upset for just a bit after the match, but not too upset, honestly. Like,
I mean, when you have MLP starting the next day, you kind of have to, compartmentalize a little bit.
Yeah, and I generally handle losses pretty well. As long as I didn't like choke, then that hits me hard. I think the most upset I've been about a match this year was actually when me and Colin Johns lost to Leia and Hayden in Minnesota, because I felt like I had just really shot the bed. But I wasn't that upset. Like Rachel and I didn't talk for a while after, but I got a lot of nice texts, people saying, great match and everything. But it was an absolute battle. It was really fun. Shame we didn't win, but kind of exciting that we were able to maintain such a high level for so long. And I feel like there are very tangible things like for her to work on. And of course, I'm more focused on the tangible things that I can work on that I think will really kind of get us over the hump. Because I think that for me, I think I played very well, but not even my best. Like I can still do things a little better. So pretty exciting.
One thing I noticed about this venue in general, there was just really aggressive shadows on the court almost the whole time. I did an analysis. Maybe I made too much a deal of this, but it seemed like there was a side advantage. In that championship match, the team on the sunny side won. I think it was like a 60-40 split in terms of like points scored. Is that something y'all take into mind, or do you just kind of have to? Everybody has to deal with it, play through it.
I thought about this, and it is interesting how it worked out where every game was won on the sunny side, but we chose side, and I thought that was the bad side, and I still would think it's probably the bad side because the shadows at that time of day were only along the baseline.
Mm-hmm.
I think the sunny side was probably the worst side because you see a lot of both teams were kind of throwing up just kind of lobs on defense because the visibility, like you couldn't see. So I don't know. I think it kind of just happened to work out that way. I don't really think that was the quote unquote good side, but it does seem to be how the numbers worked out. So maybe it had more of an effect. It could have had more of an effect than I think, but I don't really feel like the shadows mattered or affected anything. Horizontal shadows are more problematic.
So this wraps, and like this is like what people are calling the match of the year, maybe. And then the next day, you're just having to turn around to get right into MLP. What do you think of generally just like kind of pairing these PPA MLPs together? I guess there's obviously some benefits on the operational side, but it kind of seemed to me like obviously it's going to be hard for the players, but maybe it just kind of makes whichever one comes second feels almost like an afterthought, a little bit low energy. It didn't seem like there was as many fans. That was just my take as a fan watching. How did the players kind of feel about that?
Yeah, 100%. There's a little bit, especially on Monday. I think Tuesday and Wednesday the energy was better, but Monday really felt like an after. Like things just were not ready for us to go. We were first match of the day. Like, things were just messy logistically. Like, I didn't know where balls were. Things we were just not ready to go right at 10. The refs were still kind of in PPA mode. Like we questioned one of them, and at PPA, they'll tell you if they saw in or out. At MLP, they say, "Oh, you can't appeal." Like, there were some mistakes there. I don't blame them, but I just think for everyone, it didn't feel truly like MLP.
I never thought about how hard it'd be for the refs to transition. That's a good point, though. It's like there's
it is.
Rules,
they think about things very differently, and so yeah, it definitely was an afterthought. I also think that Vegas is a nice venue, but not necessarily the best venue for MLP. At MLP and in general, but especially at MLP, you want fans like right on top of the court. This facility has a really nice bowl and nice stadium, but fans are quite far away, especially in the morning with where shade is located. So that is not good for energy in any way.
I mean, after seeing how cool the indoor Vegas was earlier this year in person, I'm like, if we're going to Vegas, let's get back into a casino. Let's get back into the ballroom kind of thing. Like, I'd almost rather, the bounces stuff that they're working on. I'd rather have like the energy. I feel like that's more important to me.
Yeah, I kind of agree, at least for MLP. I got asked by another pro, like, do you think they're going to fix the bounces for next year? And I was for Fontainebleau, and I was like, I think they'll try. And they were like, but we're going back anyways. And they're like, well, I think they have to. There's some point. I was like, I don't really think they have to. Honestly, like they don't have to do anything. The event was a success. Like I think they'll try, but it's like it would have still been a much better venue, especially for Major League Pickleball. But I think, like I said, I think days 2 and 3 had a much better, even if the fan turnout wasn't, good by any means, like it just felt more the energy was better at the venue and the way players felt.
So let's kind of move into the actual pickleball that went on for MLP. St. Louis Shock, you guys had a fantastic week. You didn't lose, did you?
No, I didn't.
Because you're a winner.
Found $100 in the hotel.
Okay, that's good. That's like basically gambling.
Yeah, I gambled and I lost it, but I didn't really care because it wasn't. That's all the gambling I did. I didn't gamble much this time. All
right, so first match on Monday against the new look Utah Black Diamonds. Last time we talked, we both thought Utah was kind of maybe putting something together. And since then, they kind of decided, we're not making the playoffs. We'll blow it up. They bring in Jeannie Bouchard, who's improving. She had a good run in singles, but definitely not quite there in doubles. Y'all get a nice 4-0 win.
I think for Utah, it was actually really interesting. Like they can't keep Jeannie. Obviously, they might as well kind of, do whatever. But Jeannie was not bad. I'm going to be honest. She was like just so raw and inexperienced that it was like an asset to her because we were all on ice skates. We had no idea what she was going to do. It felt like she didn't even know what she was going to do. And I've played her before when she's been on the right. She's a lot more kind of scary when she's on the left because she can really rope the backhand. She doesn't really know how to rope the forehand, at least right now. And so it was actually tough. And there was a very high level of anxiety. And, you know, our women's match got to 24-19. It was like, oh my God, oh my God. And obviously Caitlin and Brooke kind of truly experienced that full, oh my God, panic.
Mm-hmm.
But Jeannie's actually pretty talented on the left side, I think. I'll be curious. It seems to me like she might be enjoying pickleball more. I think she's kind of gotten good enough to where she's having fun is my impression. I could be totally off base, but it's cool to see. It's cool to see.
Then later in the day, this is one of the few dream breakers of the entire week. There's only, I think, maybe 2 or 3 on championship court for premier level. The new look Carolina Pickleball Club, who this trade kind of made sense to me on paper. It seemed like, you know, you have Ben, you just hope he can get the 2 wins. Then you just need good singles players to win a dream breaker, right? So they go out and they add Caitlin Christian to pair with Brooke Buckner. I mean, that's like a very good dream breaker team now all of a sudden. But still didn't really quite work out too well for them this week. Y'all were able to win that dream breaker 21-12. Looks like it went just about as you'd expect, with Ben winning his 2 matches and then you winning your 2 matches.
It's funny the way you talk. It's not totally clear when you want the other person to speak.
I know. I'm bad at this. I'm supposed to be asking you questions or something.
No, I've got it now. It's kind of funny. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure for me, and it's a lot of pressure. I did very good winning the coin toss. I win a lot of coin tosses. It's an underestimated aspect to the St. Louis Shock's success. But anyways, in the Dream Breaker, I think we all played great. I think everyone won their matchup. Hayden especially did great, you know, kind of holding off Ben. I think he ended up winning like 6-3. And I don't know, for whatever reason, Brooke seems to underperform in Dream Breakers. I think from those stats, the Dink did, she's one of the bottom 5 performers. Of course, you have to think in that. She's played the number 1 position, which is tougher, but I feel like Brooke doesn't seem to get tight to me in PPAs, but the way she kind of hits, and she hits every ball as hard as she can, maybe there's a little bit of a work-in period to that. And in the Dream Breaker, she just doesn't quite have it. And so I don't know, it kind of some errors that were a little uncharacteristic of her, I thought. And then me and Caitlin, I mean, I did lose her 12-10 in the third not too long ago. So Kate asked me, she was like, who do you want to play? Who do you want to play? And I was like, I want to play Caitlin. I was like, I want no part of Brooke Buckner.
Yeah, because Kate has a lot more like recent experience against these players. Like she's playing them. This is that like Brooke, Kate, and Caitlin is like quarterfinal to semifinal matchup. Like
yeah, they're playing all the time. But I also just want to point out, like we probably were going to talk about this later, but I think Ben and Colin's only men's doubles win was against Gabe and Hayden, which is to me a bit of an ear or head scratcher, right? Like they just come off a PPA, they're playing so well together. I just think that there's definitely questions about effort to an extent, but also it's just kind of unfortunate for us. I think Ben really, really does not want to lose to our boys, especially Gabe, right? And I think that has kind of cost us to an extent. I feel like Ben has always had an edge against Gabe. Like even if you look back to the tournament when Colin hurt his ankle or something in California last June and Gabe was playing with Jay, Ben is like, you know, saying things in Spanish when it goes 3. Like there's a bit of an edge there.
That's interesting. It's almost like you kind of like, even if he's not fully engaged throughout the week, he's like, he'll get up for that match. Just okay.
That's how it feels.
Yeah, they did
Ben and Colin should not be winning 20% of their men's doubles.
Yeah, they went 1-3 this week. And I mean, on the year, just in the regular season, I mean, the fact that I can't just look at the top of my chart and find them immediately. They're now 13-7 in regular season matches on the year. They've not had a good MLP year by their standards at all. Your next match, you guys get the Texas Ranchers, and it was a tough week for the Ranchers. Christian Alshon, I think it was related to. I mean, I don't know if you talked to him. Was it because he hit his head with his paddle at the PPA, and that's why he was out?
That's what players were saying, but I didn't speak to him.
Yeah, that's at least what I had heard. So Anderson Scarpa, who he's got an interesting game. He's like very wristy, it seems, on the backhand. I hadn't really watched him too much. I'd seen him play before. I was actually at an APP when I saw him and Greg Dow beat Andre and Gabe. So like I knew he's a good player, and I thought he did pretty well in the sub role. It's just you draft a team around Christian Alshon and you don't have him, it's going to be tough. Every win like came at a premium for the Ranchers, and the fact that they got the one LA win We'll kind of talk about this a little bit later too. Ended up being super important, but yeah, y'all were able to get an easy 4-0 sweep there. Looked like your mixed match was maybe a little close against Anderson and Etta.
Was very close, honestly. They played really well, and Anderson had just played so bad in men's. He played terrible in men's. That I think we went in too much thinking hit everything to Anderson. But he raised his level in just 5 minutes, and he played really well, and that got kind of in my head. Especially like I didn't know what to do, and so then kind of adjusting to playing more normal mixed, and then we're just a little. It's kind of like oh my god, like we cannot lose this. And they played super solid, and we really had to kind of gut it out. It came down to the wire, and major kudos to him for kind of flipping a switch so quickly. It's very tough to do.
And then your last match of the week, I think there was just one on Wednesday. You got another 4-0 win over Arizona, and Arizona also kind of new look team with Jesse coming in for Caitlin Christian here. They were a team that kind of started to make some things happen, maybe put a little bit of pressure on some of those teams right around the playoff cut. So getting the 4-0 win definitely kind of dampens their playoff chances a little bit.
Yeah, going into Arizona, we wanted it bad. There was probably, there's a little bit of a natural energy let, and we had just, won our hugely important match against the Flash, but we still
I skipped over that one. Whoops. Yeah.
But we knew that, winning this would put us in a better position to kind of hold off the 5. So that's really what we were playing for. And shout out Lacey. I think I didn't know this, but she was 8-0. Me and her were both 8-0 going into that match. So kind of had a lot riding on it. And I think Jessie played really, really well in women's. They both did. But yeah, that was huge for us confidence wise, just to get the win. And a lot of teams would, matches are clinched 3-0, and we have Gabe and Kate out there playing. And I think a lot of teams did not understand why we still cared so much. But like teams understand those matches, Gabe and Kate getting wins is everything. It doesn't matter if it's 3-0. They have played a lot when we're up 3-0. Mm-hmm. So maybe there's been some of a checkout factor and some of their old losses. I don't know. But anytime Gabe and Kate are out there, I need them to win. It doesn't matter if it's 3-0, like I need it. We're right around the corner for the playoffs. Things need to start coming together. Every match is huge for confidence. So like against the Ranters, maybe like we were so into the match. We were so into it. It's like things like that really, or against Connor and Alex, like we cared. Me and I especially cared so much. I was on the sideline. I was not talking to anyone. I was like living and dying by every point. And I think that's generally just a good mentality to have as a team that, you really want the 4-0, you don't want the 3-1. And Gabe and Kate actually clinched this one for us against a very hot, undefeated Andre and Lacey team, which was just awesome. And then it was on me and H to close it out and get the sweep. But
I think there's anything that Kate and Gabe did differently. They went 3-2 this week. They had I don't remember exactly what the record was, but it wasn't good coming into this event. Was there any strategic differences, or just kind of like it's kind of just coming together a little bit?
I think really just coming together, nothing else really, or small things maybe, but mostly just kind of coming together. I also wanted to shout out, they went 3-2 against really all what I would consider to be the number one mixed teams. Hayden and I, we look really good, but we pretty much played all number 2 mixed teams. We played Jeannie and Tyler. We played Colin and Caitlin. We played Anderson and Etta. We played Dylan and Jesse, and is like a 1A, 1B. That's kind of interchangeable. But then we played Tyra and Augie. So H and I look really good, but I think Kate and Gabe, the strength of schedule there and going 3-2 is really good.
And so, I did accidentally skip over that match against Dallas. It feels like that could be a potential 2 versus 3 or something like that. So got to be a good confidence boost getting that win late in the season.
And that was to secure a bye because we were ahead of the Flash by 3 points, both with 2 matches remaining on the day. Obviously, one against each other, just one more match. So if we wanted, it was clinched. If we even got to a dream breaker, we were in a good position. But it was pretty much must. It was absolutely must win for them, and for us, it was hugely important. Also funny, we were late to the coin toss. We lost all aspects of the coin toss in that match.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were going to react to mix. They were going to react to singles. They set everything. So that was a good way to start everything off.
Some mind games, maybe.
Yeah.
So I've done some nerdy stuff, and we've got some sims here. I've got y'all projected with a 92% chance to get that 1 seed based on Duper. So if y'all are the 1 seed, have you guys kind of thought about who you'd want to play? Assuming, it's the 6 teams right now that are in the playoffs that make it, you guys will get to pick your opponent. Is this something you've thought about? Are you worried that like picking somebody is going to make them like have the chip on their shoulder?
Not really. I mean, you have to pick someone. I've thought more about who I'd pick in the event that we're the 3 seed. I think most 3 seeds, if the playoff shake out how they are now, I think New York is the pick. Most likely for the 3 seed, like they would pick to play New York rather than like DC, or if it's, DC, Dallas, or Texas, if everyone is healthy. I would assume that's the team that people would pick. But if if as the 1 seed, and we're playing the winner of those, then I am not really sure. It's going to kind of depend on the form, I think, in everyone's form in the first round. But it's a huge advantage, 92% chance to end up with the 1 seed feels too high.
I agree with you, and it's because Will's duper and Zane's duper. They're not getting a whole lot of love from duper. So it definitely feels like it kind of feels like more like a toss up, honestly, to me right now.
It feels like a toss up. Like I don't know. I honestly feel like it's maybe like 40% we end up with it. It's kind of my personal feeling. It's just so hard to bet against Anna Leigh, and also this, a lot of the best teams are not here, but they don't have to mess up much for us to end up with it. I don't know how tiebreakers work, but I think if they even were to lose one match in regulation, we would both have 52 points, and then I don't know how tiebreakers work, but we won the one head-to-head matchup, and I think we will have more regulation wins. Yeah. So I don't know how it'll work out.
Yeah, so they have 5 matches left. They need 12 points to tie all, 13 to pass you. They play Arizona, New York, LA, DC, and Orlando. So all those teams should be fighting,
Yeah, so it's I guess it is effectively a toss-up. It'll be really, really interesting. Really, and it's really important to put the 1 seed, because then in the final you also set things. So say it does come down to, the shock and the 5s, we would still have the ability to set everything. So it's hugely important.
It seems pretty improbable to me that New Jersey doesn't end up with one of those top 2. So probably looking at Dallas as a 3 seed. And then that's where it gets kind of interesting, because you've got DC and New York still have a little bit more of their season to go. DC has 30 points currently. They've played 17, so they have 6 to go. New York they also have 30 points, but they only have 5 matches to go. So it then next kind of comes down to if Arizona and Orlando are able to just kind of capture something and just get enough points to either pass a struggling New York team maybe, or a struggling DC team, or if they can get up to 38 points, that's when Texas again has to start sweating. So in my models I ran, I did 5,000 iterations, and there were only 2 times Texas didn't make the playoffs. So again, that it's possible. It's like Dumb and Dumber. You tell me there's a chance. Probably safe. And if you look at how many points I'm kind of projecting teams to end with here, Texas obviously at 38, but Orlando and Arizona has them right around 32 points. So if you just flip those 2 matches I talked about earlier again, where Orlando lost to LA, Texas beat LA, both those teams are like right at that 35 match. Like it was there for Orlando, and if they could have just found a way to get points out of that match, like all of a sudden I would not be having fun watching MLP next week.
It's gonna be exciting. I kind of hope that one of those teams makes a strong push or does really well in their first 3 matches, and then things get dicey. It'll be.
I think it'd be a lot of fun. I was kind of like a little bummed that there wasn't. I think we talked about this last time, that there isn't that kind of, a little bit of drama there.
At the Premier level there isn't. At Challenger though there is. So
that's true.
There's that for the super hardcore nerds.
Yeah, I need to do some Challenger catching up. I haven't been watching that. Okay, we've got about 3 minutes left in this meeting. Is there anything else we want to touch on? I could just throw up my power rankings real quick. Since the last time, I just went ahead and bumped Texas down to the B tier. Again, if they're healthy, still feel like they're in the A tier, but I just don't know. It just feels like, even though Christian was gone, Tina and Etta did not really play that well this last event. So you talked about how important it was down the stretch for Gabe and Kate to gain confidence. I'm kind of feeling like I've lost confidence in the Ranchers a little bit.
I felt like they definitely played a little bit below their levels. Tina and Kwong have been so good, and it didn't seem like they had their best stuff.
And then I went ahead and slid Arizona up, I think, post-trade. It just seems like, you're sacrificing maybe a little bit in the Dream Breakers, but you just need to get some wins in regulation when you're chasing, and adding Jesse, who's been playing really well mixed this year, obviously the gold with Gabe. It seems like a good move for them.
Yeah, she's playing a really big right side in women's too. She's tough when she's playing that way.
Yeah, so I think that's about it. Thanks for joining, and really appreciate you hopping on.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Matt. It's fun. I like talking about this stuff.
Fun.